Well, hello, fellas. It's been a while. I took a week off, and then I took another week to work on the stream. It's nice to see you again. You might be going, where's the live audience, Jaffe? Well, let me tell you something. We're trying something a little new on this episode. You let me know what you think in the comments and Discord and Twitter and all those places. Doesn't mean we won't live stream. We'll still be doing the live streams. We got interviews coming up. We got live gameplay coming up. The Game Awards coming up. Shoot the shit. We'll probably be doing more of that than ever if we go with this format. But I wanted to give this a try for a week or two. You let me know what you think if you got the time. I would appreciate it. In the meantime, if you don't know who that was, that is the main song from our very own God of War member Alixplox playing Monarch, the theme from the video game Monarch that our very own Rob the Mod is working on. If you want to visit Alex, go down below in the links and look at his YouTube page. He's got a lot of good music over there. By the way, if you're listening on the podcast, welcome. Good to have you. If you're sitting watching on the YouTube, get all comfy, get your lube and your napkins. Can you imagine if somebody uses napkins? I don't know why. I think because I need a napkin because I just spilled hot chocolate on my hands. But you don't want to use a napkin. But get your lube and your, your tissue and your snorkel. Oh, I have to tell you something. Okay, real quick. We're going to get to the news. But I have to tell you. So I'm not even fucking with you. I may have told you this before. I don't think so. So I was married for a very long time. Towards the end, we went to couples therapy. My wife and I. No, just some random person. That's why it didn't work. And we went to a guy who was apparently the premier marriage couples counselor in Los Angeles. Very expensive, took a long time to get an appointment, and we said, okay, we got it though. We're going to go see the guy. He's going to save the marriage. And we met with him, and his biggest advice, I mean, he's like, look, you got to spice up your marriage. And we're like, yeah, but, we've been dating for years, married for over 10 years. It just feels like a roommate situation. He's like, you got to spice it up. We're like, well, what do you mean? And he says, here's what you do. I call your wife, text her, whatever it was at the time, and tell her to meet you at the corner of, I think it was like Colorado Boulevard and Santa Monica. Just some location in Santa Monica Boulevard. And you should be wearing a scuba suit. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah. And then you go to a hotel and you have sex while you're wearing the scuba suit. I'm like, motherfucker, you're like $600 an hour and you're telling me to put a scuba suit on? So we never saw him again, clearly. And clearly, maybe I should have done that. I'd still be married, although all is working out well. So anyway, the point is the lube and the napkin and the scuba suit. It doesn't matter. Let's dive right in and let's talk about, how are you, by the way? Are you good? I'm serious. Are you good? The one thing I probably miss about the instant live interaction is there are people out there who need that connection. And I get it. Everybody needs connection. But I hope if you're watching, you're having a rough day, a rough week, that, your Papa Jaffe's here for you, baby. I'm easy to find on Discord, Twitter, all that good stuff. And I will be doing some live streams very soon. So hang in there. Hope you're well. And let's talk video games, man. So the crew that makes DC Universe Online is making a Marvel MMO. That's the word on the street. I have mixed feelings about this. I mean, I'm not a big MMO guy, so it's really none of my fucking business, but I am a huge Marvel guy. DC Online, I played a little bit and I didn't care for it. And I gotta tell you, most of the superhero games that are MMOs or online don't really work for me. I think there's a part of it that is just seeing superheroes run. It just seems so dorky to me, In comics or movies, they cut to panels or cut to scenes where the hero has already arrived in a really cool pose, or he's swinging in or leaping in, but just sort of normal navigation through the space. It's weird. I don't mind it with knights and soldiers and things, but with superheroes, they just demand this bigger than life presentation, and they just look so stupid running around. The Marvel stuff, they did that Diablo kind of online clone, which was Marvel Heroes, which never really took off. They have Ultimate Alliance, which I always thought was, it's okay. Avengers basically may as well be MMO light. I know it's not MMO like Big World, but online service based. None of them ever really seem to work. The ones that seem to work well are, the Insomniac ones and Wolverine, and I'm very excited about Midnight Suns coming from Firaxis. But the idea of just another bunch of Marvel superheroes beating up robots, beating up drones, collecting pickups, getting new costumes. I mean, on one hand, it makes sense because it's a huge IP, and why would you not do it? And maybe they just need a developer like these guys, because DC Universe or DC Online's been running for over 10 years, and it's still pretty damn successful. I think they said it's making more revenue now than it ever has. I don't particularly like it. I think that, you know, especially when you have Insomniac's combat, whether we're talking Wolverine, which we know will be sublime, or we're talking Spidey, to go from that even to Crystal Dynamics, Spider-Man, and Avengers feels like a downgrade. Now imagine going from Insomniac with Wolverine or Spider-Man, and it's like Ultimate Alliance level or DC Online level of combat. You know, yeah, it'll be better, it'll look better, cool effects and all that stuff, but I don't know. I think at this point, when it comes to sort of MMOs and online and Marvel and all that, it's like, you know, what I really want, they can't do. I would prefer a 4 to 6 player co-op PvE experience, and it's written like, not like a comic book, meaning all the panels and bullshit, but meaning it is really story rich, and it's like you are going on a really cool handcrafted adventure. Every month there's a new chapter or whatever, a new issue. But I get that that's cost prohibitive. I mean, part of development in general, and certainly these kinds of games, is sort of modularizing your quests and kind of tweaking them as much as you can, but you've got about 8 or 9 quest types, and hopefully every season you can add 2 more or whatever, but you're not going to get really that version, and you're never going to get a version where every hero character plays as good as an Insomniac character, partially because, hell, Insomniac had multiple programmers and team members just on Spider-Man swinging for like 2 years. So how many Marvel characters are going to be in a goddamn MMO? You got to make Iron Man feel perfect, Hulk feel perfect, Spidey feel... You're not going to compete there. You know, Midnight Suns excites me because it's Marvel, which I love, but it's in a different genre of Marvel. And I haven't really played a strategy tactics game with the Marvel characters. That's different. That's exciting. But I've done the punchy with a bunch of friends or a bunch of random strangers online, and, you know, they can never come up with enough enemies. You're always just killing fodder. You're always just running through New York or the fucking dinosaur world. Like, it just, nothing about, it's like I've been there, done that so many times that I think chances are they're not going to do much different. It's going to be an execution piece. Chances are this is going to be like, look, we know the space. DC Online has a lot of great fans, and it's 10 years old. If we launch with great graphics, better movement, better combat, and it's just a better packaged product built on the back of what we've learned from DC. It's a very pedestrian product, but it'll probably make a shit ton of money. So I get why they're doing it. But boy, I can't fathom being all that interested in it. The other question is, are you, in DC, you don't get to play Superman or Batman or whatever, if I remember. You actually have to make your own character who can encounter the Joker and Batman and Spider-Man and Superman and whatnot. I don't really want to play a fucking Marvel game where I'm making Marvel Kid or whatever my made-up bullshit is, and suddenly, oh, look, there's Spider-Man swinging by. He sends me on a quest to go get the 8, you know, lithium batteries that we can use to bring down Doc Ock. It's like, really? I don't know. It just doesn't... I think that, you know, if somebody said to me, Jaffe, we're doing a text... I'm serious, I'm not even fucking with you. We're doing a text-based MMO that is written by Michael Bendis and other great comic writers, and it is going to be kind of like a cross between an adventure game, text adventure game, and a MUD, but it's going to be co-op, and it's going to be very much about the Marvel characters' lives, in and out of costume, lots of variety, lots of handcrafted scenarios because it's cheaper. I'd be much more interested in that, even if it's text, because I can get lost in my imagination than just like, oh, look, it's Ultimate Alliance Online. Big fucking deal. Oh, you can get your own room in Avengers Tower, and you can decorate it. Oh, my God. Good luck. I'm excited because it's Marvel, but I'm very skeptical. We'll see what happens. Real fast piece of news. You may have seen that Valve has said that they are focusing on Steam Deck, and they are not going to be working at the moment on Half-Life 3. The only reason I bring this up is the question of, and please let me know in the comments or wherever you communicate with me, Discord, Twitter, does anybody give a fuck about Half-Life 3 anymore? I mean, Half-Life 2, maybe I'm wrong here, was it 99? Or it's been quite some time. And then I know they had like Half-Life 2 Chapter 1, or what, you know, they did like a little side thing, and then they did the VR, which simply based on the hardware sell-through, not many people played that, the Alex version, the Alex game. So I mean, if you're making Half-Life today, you've given up a lot of goodwill for that franchise. You're pretty, I could see why they would say, maybe the train has left the station on this franchise, because obviously anytime you make a game, if you're ambitious, and I know Valve is, you want it to be best of breed. So I'm sure they know if they make it, the graphics will be great. Hopefully the story will be great. Hopefully the way they do interactivity will be groundbreaking. But that's what it's going to have to be. If they simply just make a really good single-player narrative shooter, okay. But, you know, we have a lot of those now, and they're built on the bones of Half-Life 1, but it's really not that interesting if you compare it to the narratives in something like BioShock, or if you compare it to the narratives in other sort of single-player, first-person shooter explorer kind of games. It's really just sort of a B science fiction level alien invasion movie. So I would be very surprised to hear that a lot of people give a shit that Half-Life 3 is tabled. I think most people would rather have Valve focusing on Steam Deck, Steam games, and they're totally cool if Half-Life 3 goes the way of the dodo. So let's talk about Halo a little bit, some Halo news. The first thing is the Battle Pass progression update. Everybody knows that Microsoft, or anybody who's playing knows, that 343 is trying really hard to improve the Battle Pass and the progression speed and all that, blah, blah, blah. It's old news. But just this week, a couple of days ago, they upgraded their progression update speed XP giveaway. I don't fucking know what the word is. They basically said, look, we're, instead of just a paltry 50 XP for every game, we're at least going to make it a little bit easier on you. While we're behind the scenes, I think they're still on Thanksgiving break. I think they come back next week is what I read. But they're going to make some big changes, it sounds like. They're very clear. They're like, we feel your pain is what they said. We're aware of it. We hear you guys loud and clear. Hopefully where they're going is some kind of system that, based on your gameplay, like if I got headshots, if my team won, if I captured a flag but my team lost, if I captured 2 flags but my team won, that will contribute to XP. But that's obviously a big system, not that it just needs to be created. I'm surprised that it's stunning that that wasn't in there, but it is what it is. But it's also going to take a lot of balancing. So I don't know what the stop gaps are going to be, but this is a pretty good stopgap. I do have a question about it, but the gist is, up until your 7th game, you're getting more XP than you got. That's the only real change. So your first game will give you 300, second 200, and then all the way down to 100 on your 6th game, and then 7th game forward is 50. The only thing that's weird about this to me, and it's very consumer friendly, and maybe that's why they're doing it, because they know they have to earn back some good faith when it comes to this system. But I would have flipped that, right? I mean, I don't mean to be a predatory free-to-play guy, but the whole point of it is you want people to stick around, even if they're not paying their money. You want people to stick around so the lobbies are always full, or the battlegrounds are always full. So I would assume if you flip this and said your first game is 50, your second, third is 100, and then if you play your 7th game, it's 300. And then it either resets, or the next 5 games are 50, and then you get a random wheel spin between 100 and 1,000, or just something that was more about upping the stickiness. This feels like, you'll log in, you'll get 500, you'll play a couple of games, and once you get to game 4, if your main motivation is chasing XP, which it is for a lot of people, chasing the Battle Pass goodies, you're out. You'll come back tomorrow. So, I mean, at least you'll come back, but it is a little weird to me. I would have flipped this, but it's nice to see them doing this. The other thing is, I'll tell you what, man, I'm not a big shooter guy, right? I've played almost every shooter that's come out, but I've never been serious enough or engaged enough with them to care about cheating. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm very much into Halo. As people who follow the Discord and the channel and stuff know, I'm having a great time with it. And because it's PC and Xbox, Microsoft came out and pretty much said, it's like, this is always going to be some kind of a problem. We're going to constantly try to fix it and chase down the problems that we can identify and help us identify them by sending us videos, blah, blah, blah. But they're like, look, that's the nature of a free-to-play game with PC and crossplay. And those are two things I guess Halo fans have never had to deal with before. Suddenly now they're dealing with it. I mean, I don't know if the Master Chief Collection on Steam was crossplay and how much cheating that had, but at first I was like, well, I'm not noticing it. But then I started watching some videos. Look at this fucking video. And by the way, if you're not watching the screen, or you're watching and you know what you're looking at, It's basically a video with a large circle in the center, which is not part of Halo. That is the cheat you can get online on your PC. And there's a little box inside. So basically, it's an aimbot where anyone who gets in this massive circle and you press fire, you're going to hit them. So it's basically like putting 20 training wheels on your machine gun. And you can hit people from across the map with pretty much any weapon because the bullets go right to them. That's what you're seeing here. I mean, I know if you're in this world, you're like, yeah, Jaffe, I've seen that. It's horrible. Every game has to deal with this. But I'm telling you, for me, when I saw this, I'm like, oh, if I encountered somebody on the battlefield that was doing that, I would absolutely quit. I mean, it would wreck the game. And at some point, if it gets too bad, I do think Microsoft's going to have a choice. I think, if they're basically saying we can never eradicate it, sure, but if you can't fix it enough that 60, 50, 40, even 30% of the time you're dealing with cheaters like this, you're dead unless you just say fuck it, we're going console. I know they don't want to do that, and maybe they're not dead, but I certainly wouldn't play it. I don't know how other people deal with it, how you guys deal with it if you're playing cross-play, Call of Duty, Fortnite, or whatever, but there's no goddamn way on God's green earth I would stick around for a game where I'm totally getting decimated just because some little prick is cheating. So I don't know where this is going to go, but when I saw this video, I finally got it, and I'm telling you something, I get it now, and I'm like, holy shit, man. That's enough to turn me off of fucking PC shooters the rest of my fucking days. Crazy shit, man. Hopefully they'll fix it. Look, 343 so far, to their credit, has been very responsive to the community. It's a little weird. You'd think you launch a game, don't send your crew on vacation. I know. It's like, dude, we busted our fucking asses. I know. But you'd think it's like, look, let's get it up and running. Let's let it run for a month, and then we can let the team go for a month or two. Take a nice, very well-deserved vacation. But you need this first couple of weeks. I'm sure there's a skeleton crew there, but it's just kind of like, dude, fucking fix this. Anyway, there you go. We'll see what happens as the Halo train rolls on. Another Xbox update that dropped this week is something I think they're calling like screen clarity or whatnot. You can only get it on your browser if you're playing Xbox. You can only get it, the cloud gaming, through the Edge browser. If you play it in Chrome or whatever else, you're not going to get the upgrade. You're also supposedly able to get it in the on the console. Now, I will tell you, I mean, I haven't noticed that much, but your mileage may vary. But what I will tell you, just giving you a heads up, because a lot of people are like, why would I even mess with cloud, which is the streaming? And again, not everybody has great streaming, I get it. But if you can stream, people are like, well, why would I do that, not just download, right? Well, for a while I agreed with that. And I have PS Now, and I enjoyed PS Now, but with PS Now, you literally have to go to the PS Now section of the store. And then you've got to sort of say, okay, I want this game, and then it loads up. And it's basically the same amount of time to load up as the Xbox. But because most people on Xbox have Game Pass, I know not everybody does, but the vast majority of people do, it integrates so wonderfully into the console experience. Since you're already kind of in the Game Pass ecosystem anyway, you just kind of browse around, and I wouldn't say all, but I'd say maybe so far 70% of these games are able to be cloud played. And, a lot of these are things like, it just ups the discovery and it lowers the barrier of entry. So I don't know. Let's see. I've been thinking about playing, I've never played DayZ, right? Well, I'm not interested enough to download it and research it or whatever. But if I see the cloud symbol, I'll go, fuck it, let's just try it. And suddenly it takes about 30 seconds and we're in the game. And again, this is not yay Xbox, yay Game Pass. I know. And again, I did a test. Both PS Now and Xbox will load your game and get you playing pretty much the same amount of time. It does seem like the loading is a little faster once you get into the game, like the red bar you're seeing here will go faster with Xbox. But other than that, the getting into the game is super fast for either. What's cool about the Xbox part is simply it's just in that ecosystem, and it makes the cloud experience. Like, I've had PS Now subscribed for over a year, and the only time I've ever gone there is it's like a destination, like, oh, I want to look at Silent Hill 2, I want to research this, I want to test out the streaming. It's a simple change. This being front and center, I'm suddenly playing DayZ. right? Right? I mean, I know that sounds, it's just crazy. I know that a lot of, like, maybe if you're more hardcore, you're like, dude, if I want to fucking play a game, I'm going to download it. I'm going to put it on my fucking big TV. I get it. But all I can tell you is I'm not like that. And if you're not like that, messing around with cloud in console, not on PC, but in console, which is something I never thought, I was like, why would I need that? It's really cool. So anyway, that's a new update this week as well. What Microsoft is saying is that the screen has more clarity, less pixely. Mine has always been pretty good, so it's never going to look as perfect as coming off the hard drive. But there you go. That's the new update from Microsoft for this week. Obviously, the PlayStations and the Xboxes are hard to get. We talked a little bit last time about how the Series S kicked some serious ass on Black Friday, but this is all based on supply at this point. But I will tell you that it's pretty cool to see a lot of people getting into the Game Pass ecosystem. But we're not talking Game Pass today. We're going to kick this off by talking about something similar to Game Pass, but much less satisfying, but still interesting. What you see on your screen right there is from the Epic Games Store, the Epic Games Store launcher. This is a new thing. It's been in the UK for a little bit, called ANTSTREAM Arcade. In essence, it's Game Pass, subscription-based service, but it's for arcade games, for retro games. So it's like MAME, but you pay $10 a month. You get these, like, I have 1,400 gems that you get for free if you get it from Epic Games Store right now. So basically the games cost 30 gems a piece if you want to play them. Once you open a game up, you can play it for as much as you want until you close it. And then you got to pay another 30 gems to open up another game to play that game, is how the system works. And I don't know if you pay per month and you have infinite gems, or you get a certain number of gems per month and then you have to pay more if you run out. That's basically the system. But it's interesting, when it was in the UK, it was a lot of Spectrum games and games from kind of the PC era overseas that I wasn't that familiar with. So the nostalgia couldn't kick in that much. But now that they looked like they've relaunched it, you've got Super Nintendo games, like there's Super Star Wars on there. You've got more American arcade games or Japanese arcade games like Galaga, Wizard of War, Rolling Thunder, Mortal Kombat's on there, Metal Slug X, Earthworm Jim. So, I mean, it's filling out. I don't know kind of what AntStream's limit is. Like, they're like, look, we're not getting into PS1 stuff, obviously. I don't quite know how they were able to get, I guess Super Star Wars they licensed from Lucas, and that doesn't have to go through Super Nintendo, even though it says Super on it. And what's kind of cool about this is there's a bit of a social aspect to it, as you would expect this day and age. So, like, for example, they've got, like, the Rolling Thunder, which is a game I loved when I was a kid or a teenager. Rolling Thunder has a competition starting in 12 hours. I don't know what you win. There's currently a Dig Dug competition, which I also love. It's loved, which is tournament. 15,000 coin prize pot. So you just win more coins to keep playing. And I guess, I don't know what the high scores are, but it'll cost you 50 coins to join. So it's neat, man. It's worth checking out if you like stuff like this. But I will tell you what was really interesting to me. Yesterday I played a bunch of stuff on this because I was really excited. My first thought was, whoa, this is awesome. And so I played like Earthworm Jim, Wizard of War, Bump and Jump, Super Return of the Jedi, or Star Wars Return of the Jedi, sorry, that was the arcade one, and Rolling Thunder. Obviously, there are going to be some games that hold up. Galaga, Galaxian, Miss Pac-Man holds up, Rolling Thunder kind of holds up, Metal Slug holds up. But what was really fascinating to me about this was just how archaic and how boring this got after maybe about 15 minutes of, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. And obviously, if you were to go back in time and say, hey, little Jaffe, 10-year-old Jaffe begging quarters off his dad at Aladdin's Castle, this is going to be in your future, my eyes would have bugged out of my fucking head. It's like, that's like having an arcade at home. It's like, I know. But I started thinking, why don't these games hold up? Right? Well, I mean, they're great for what they are, but why don't a lot of these games, not all, but why don't of the vast majority of these games, when you pick them up and you play them, they're fun for the nostalgia level, but after a little bit, you want to move on with your fucking life. And I'm going to give you a theory on this, and you tell me what you think. I was born in 71, and the first game, I mean, you could say Space War, but, you know, Space War Pong, 70, 71. I was there at the very beginning of the ride. And we had never seen anything like it. Okay, so the novelty of it and the just what the fuck am I seeing of it, that went a long way. That carried us a long way. Okay, but I think if the games had been more advanced and more mentally engaging, we could have handled it, right? But there was no demand for more complicated games because the novelty was so strong and there was such variety of just very simple games that no one was asking for anything more complex. And today, that level of like, wow, this is so novel, I'm controlling the screen, kids burn through that novelty by the time they're 4 because they're given iPads and iPhones and shit like that to fuck around with when they're basically toddlers. So by the time they get to 5 or 6 years old, they understand video game language. They've moved on to Roblox and Minecraft. So I think the games that I played and my generation played and loved when we were, 10, 11, 12, we were playing what today, a 5, 6, 7-year-old would basically play. And I think I'm right about this because of how it relates to PlayStation 1 era games. I can go back to PS1 era games and I can be engaged with it. I remember this from when we did the PlayStation 1 sort of celebration stream and I was playing like Ace Combat and a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, this is, archaic, but it still is holding my interest. And I think it's because there is that threshold that we didn't get to in NES games and certainly these games. Probably NES games we're getting there more and certainly Super Nintendo. It doesn't have to do with the 3D. It has to do with how much your brain is involved. And I think there's a threshold of average what the brain wants to be engaged. And I don't think these older games, now that the novelty wore off, is doing it. But these kind of later generation games, they still keep your attention. And I was really fascinated by that. So here's what I did. I went back and I played Spyro the Dragon Riptor's Rage on emulation, which you see here. And I was like, this is really fun. I'm still engaged by this. The controls aren't great because I don't have the camera rotation or anything because this is a pure emulation of the PS1 that didn't have analog sticks and all that stuff. But I was like, this is kind of compelling. And then I said, well, let me download the update. I had a code for it. I didn't buy it. It's Activision. My buddy gives me codes, but I've actually owned this code for ages, just never installed it. It was the trilogy of the remakes of Spyro. And I was just playing them back to back, the old one and then the new one. And I was like, holy cow, the new one obviously is better. The frame rate's stable. You can rotate the camera. The art is just, updated for modern people. So it's like, whoa, it's scrumptious. But the moment-to-moment gameplay, I was stunned at how one-to-one it was, where things were placed, what you were doing in the game. And I was like, I played both of those. Between the two of them, I must have played both for about 4 hours, right? And so it really did get me to kind of think, okay, maybe there is this kind of base level of how advanced games need to be at the average engagement level for most players. And then you can start to get too far to the right, which is too complicated for a lot of people. Like most people, you start giving them stuff like Civilization 4 or even Mortal Kombat, they're going to go, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a little bit out of this. And then obviously if you go back in the past or if you go super simple, you end up with what you're seeing on the screen here, which is the ANTSTREAM stuff. So with all of that, the obvious question becomes, at least for me, is this ANTSTREAM thing actually going to work? Is there a business here? I mean, look, it's clear that someone thinks there is. There must be, right? They must think that. I mean, someone clearly has put a lot of passion and belief in this. Somebody out there believes that this ANTSTREAM Arcade is gonna work. It's gonna be their next big thing or their first big thing. And it's like, I don't know what they're seeing to make them feel that. If you guys remember GameTap, it's kind of like GameTap with a better business model and probably better games. But I don't know. I don't see this lasting long. I wonder if something like Gamepass or PlayStation sort of brought this into their ecosystem. That would be cool. But again, I have bigger, better, cooler things to play now. This is like going back and looking at silent movies. It's nice for history, but I don't really want to sort of make it how I spend my day if I'm looking to be entertained, right? But the other thing that was really interesting, right? I want to go to Soulsborne real quick on this because we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about the age-oldest Soulsborne need difficulty, and I'm not going to bore you with this bullshit, but the gist of it was, I don't think there should be an easy, medium, or difficult mode, but I definitely think one day when the AI is capable, the AI should slide in real time based on a number of different variables would slide to give every single player the experience that Miyazaki or whoever it is wanted the player to have, right? So my version of Soulsborne games would be just as challenging as yours, but because you're a better player or a smarter player, or you have more experience, the AI picks up on all that, and we have different experiences algorithmically, but we walk out of the game going, we both experienced as close to the same thing as possible. That's where I think it will go and should go, okay? Well, I'm even more in belief of this now, because I don't know how I came across this, but I'm going to give you a second to guess. I'll take a swig of my soda while you're thinking. Do you know the average, okay, if you're going to be an esport player, do you know when you scientifically probably are going to need to stop, or you're going to start getting your ass handed to you? Not guaranteed, but more often than not. Do you know the age? I'm going to drink and I'll come back. Here you go. You got like 3 seconds. Figure it out. What age do you need to stop playing? Or not stop playing, but what age do you think you're going to start getting your ass handed to you more and more once you hit this threshold, if you're playing like professional esports or just playing with your friends? 24. The age is 24 years old. It's goddamn truth. Goddamn truth. 24 years old. There was a study on this. They actually did a study using StarCraft 2. I don't know why they picked that game. I do know why, but it was an old game, and this isn't that old of a study. But they did a study on this using StarCraft 2, and they said, 24 is the age where, and I'm going to get the science wrong, or at a high level, you have 2 hemispheres of your brain. You have this thing in the middle that allows the 2 to talk to each other, right? The older you get, the mushier that gets, the less effective that membrane that separates the 2 that lets them talk gets. So when you're younger and you're playing a game, the part of your brain that is needed is just focused on what you need. The older you get, as that middle section sort of dissolves or whatever it does, the brain starts talking to each side more often than not, and that's why your reflexes tend to slow down, okay? So you can counter it with practice, and you can counter it with strategy and tactics, but ultimately, if you're talking about a game where success is measured in milliseconds, which a lot of these games are, not single milliseconds, but under a second, it makes total sense why when I play some of the Discord members in Halo, I can't hold my own. I love it, but the more I think about that, it just makes me go, okay, so there is a scientific reason why you're struggling. So, when I play, let's just take Halo, and let's take Spazbo and Rob the Mod, who I play with on Discord often. When I'm playing Halo, I'm probably putting the same intellectual effort in and the same energy in that they are. It's just that their reflexes, because they're a lot younger, are better, and they're able to play better. And so, I don't know, I start to wonder about games like that, and I wonder about Demon's Souls. Now, I know the Souls games aren't just about reflexes. I get it. You can kid out and all that shit, fine. But if we're talking about the reflex portion of games, and the Souls games have that, I don't know. I think it starts to get a little ageist at that point. Because at that point, you're saying, okay, the Souls games are really made for people who are between the ages of, say, 10 and 24. And there's wiggle room, of course. But basically, that's where you're going to have just enough challenge that the director wants you to have. And if you're older than that, it's going to be harder for you. And I don't know about that. That just seems really, maybe because I'm 50, but that seems really kind of shitty. That my only option is to drop the thing down to easy if I want to fucking have a good time, and then it feels too easy. So all I'm saying is 24 is when you lose it. You start to lose it, friends. You start to lose it. And I have felt it. I was never a brilliant game player, but it sucks to see in the game there are things I want to do, but I can't pull it off. I can't pull it off as fast as people I'm competing with. And it's not intellectual. It literally is just synapses in the brain. Come on now. Hell, you remember when I was trying to beat the boss in Kenna, and everyone's like, oh, you just have to jump at the right moment, or you have to fucking aim right at the lantern, and it was hitting the lantern, but the lantern ducked behind his armor in the last second. maybe you're able to see that. But for me, no, it's shitty. And I mean, I guess the answer is, well, they could make games for older people, or they can make games that are more all ages. But I don't know. That just seems, I don't know. I mean, in professional sports, sure. If even if you were a top athlete when you were 24, and then when you're 40, you can't get on the NFL anymore because you're too old. You want to play with people roughly your age. I get that. But they don't sell professional football in a package for $60 and say, we're here to entertain everybody. So unless maybe they start marketing and say, hey, this is kind of a young guy's game, it just seems shitty that there is that demarcation. And again, it's just one more reason I think we should have AI adjusting for a variety of reasons so we all can play together and we can all have the same experience that the director wanted us to have when they designed the game. One of our God of War members, Spazbo04, probably one of the best game players we got in our little community here, is a contributing member to the World of LongPlays. Now, if you don't know what the World of LongPlays is, it is a channel on the YouTube. There are over 1 million subscribers, so you know it's good. You know it's popular. It's a channel where Spazbo and a handful of others, no commentary, no opinions, they just play games, mostly retro games from start to finish. You've got Intellivision collections, Atari 2600 collections, N64, Wii U collections. It's a wonderful resource if you're looking for research, if you're looking for wonderful kind of background things to keep you company. I actually put this on. I put the Atari 2600 long play on the other day when I was actually working on new topics for this very stream that you're watching right here. It absolutely keeps me entertained. Now, they've been around for 15 years. That's staying power, baby. Just take a look at some of the videos that they've put together, some of the games they've played and recorded during that time. Jetmoto down there, you see that? It is a wonderful kick of nostalgia, and it's also great for research, man. I could have used this. I didn't know this channel was around when I was designing games. I could have used this for inspiration, coming on here for research and ideas and things like that. This is the World of LongPlays. You can find the link in the YouTube video down below. It's absolutely worth your time. It's worth your attention. That looks Shenmue right there. I'm telling you, it's like stepping into a time machine, going back to some of the best times of your life with some of your wonderful video game friends. They're all there waiting for you, along with Spaz. He'll give you a pickle tickle. All right, fellas, there you go. World of LongPlays. Do check it out. It's good people. Would you like to know, my little friends? Maybe you're not little. Maybe you're huge. Maybe you're... Can you imagine being 7 feet, 6 feet, 6'4"? People, there's a height advantage. I've never worried about being short in my goddamn life. But when you think about it, people just, it doesn't, you just think about it. People are, you know, they get tall, or they're tall and they have advantages. It's just sometimes, you know, in China, there's literally an operation you can have where they go inside your legs and they put these like rods in there, and like you got to go back every week and they'll turn it and you gain a couple of inches. It's incredibly painful and expensive. That's how stigmatized it is being short there. You're like, what the fuck am I listening to? I can edit this out, but I'm not gonna, because it's interesting. Listen to me. Let's talk about Bobby Kotick. This is not a Bobby Kotick segment. This is a Call of Duty segment, but I'm going to tell you as a preamble why Bobby Kotick, big bad Bobby Kotick, he's not going anywhere. Let's put it this way. If he doesn't get kicked out, it'll be because roughly what I'm about to talk to you about, which is money. Okay, so Game Industry Biz comes out and they say the latest Call of Duty mainline title, the 60, 70, 80, depending on the version you buy, Call of Duty Warzone, their exact quote is, data coming out of the UK and Europe shows that that title sold significantly fewer units at launch than the predecessor from last year, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War is one of the, if not the best-selling Call of Duty of all time. There are over 33 million copies sold of that title. Now, the World War II titles never do as well. The Sledgehammer titles never do as well, the developer of this new game. But there's something else going on here. There is a canary in the coal mine that I want to talk to you about, at least in my opinion, based on this article and an article from Variety that also came out this week, roughly about the same thing. Let me tell you about this article. This is really interesting. So the Game Industry Biz guys are like, well, why aren't people buying Call of Duty? Suddenly, what has changed? This was always every year. You could count on Call of Duty being a big deal. And again, it's not like Call of Duty Vanguard is not going to sell and be profitable and be one of the best-selling, if not the best-selling games of the year. Of course it is. But you know, the numbers I saw was a 40% drop in week 1. That's staggering. And by the way, this article also says, hey, it's not just Call of Duty, folks. It's Call of Duty. We're seeing a degradation, chiseling away of sales. We're seeing it with Battlefield 2042. We're seeing it with Far Cry 6. These are massive franchises that are getting just punched in the fucking face by some random invisible force. Well, not really. So the game industry biz guys say, we want to know what's going on. So they do this survey. They reach out to 671 people. Out of those 671, 284 of those people had bought a Call of Duty in the last 5 years, okay? But only 59, listen, do it again. Think of the numbers. If you're driving in your car, think of the number. 284 people. The last 5 years, they picked up a Call of Duty. 284. Only 59 of those 284 said, I'm stepping up and buying Call of Duty Vanguard this year. It's 21%, by the way. 59 of those individuals said, I'm still interested enough to buy Vanguard. What's going on? So here's the results that came back. The percentages don't add up to 100 because they allowed them to vote multiple times. But if you look at your screen, if you're not driving or what have you, 55% say I'm busy playing other games. 34% said I'm done with Call of Duty. I've played too much. Give me a break, motherfucker. I added the color commentary there. I would love to have surveys that actually say things like that. But 34% said, yeah, I'm done. I've played too much Call of Duty. 24% said it's World War II. I'm sick of World War II. 20% said, I don't like the reviews. 14% said, hey man, I'm happy playing Warzone. I'm happy playing the free Call of Duty. Why would I pay $60 when I can get my fix? And there were some other ones that were kind of negligible. I did think it was interesting that the Activision Blizzard PR issue they're having, which is really not a PR issue, it's a I'm Bobby Kotick and I'm a piece of shit issue. That was only 6%, which is probably less given that at least some of those percentage points were not virtue signaling, but it's like, oh, well, of course I'm going to put that. But I don't really think that's hit the bottom line, which is another reason, obviously, or the main reason that Kotick probably isn't going anywhere. And you're like, well, what do you mean the sales are down? Yeah, but you have to ask why the sales are down. And if you look back at that chart, 55% are playing other games. 34% is I'm already dealing with Call of Duty. I've played too much. 14% says I'm doing Warzone. And 24% say I don't like World War II, okay? Every single one of those excuses or reasons, it's not saying these guys aren't playing video games anymore. It's saying they might be playing a lot of free shit, right? They might, the options, as this article says, it could be free-to-play games and subscription service games are starting to cut in to the AAA games. And I think this next article I'm going to show you from Variety, there's kind of an indication that may very well be true, that you've got a lot more people playing, but they're choosing the free option, and it's starting to gut this particular part of the market. This hit the same week as the Game Industry Biz article, and this is pretty telling. This is an article about trends in games Q3, fiscal financial Q3, which just was a lot of companies reported. Listen to this. They're talking about the publishers that make most of their money on microtransactions and in-game transactions, okay? This is insane. So Ubisoft, we'll start at the bottom and go to the top. Ubisoft's making 45% of their revenue just from microtransactions. Take-Two, obviously, Rockstar, obviously, GTA Online, they make 66%. For every dollar they make, that company makes 66 cents of that dollar is coming from people sitting at home with their computers and PlayStations and Xboxes going, I'll buy that really cool sparkly jacket for my character. I'll buy those cool sunglasses. I'll buy that car. 66% for Take-Two. Basically 66% from Electronic Arts with all the FIFA shit and whatnot. Now listen to this one. This is why Kotick's probably going to, unless he breaks the law and he goes to jail or the PR just gets overwhelming, he ain't leaving his throne. Activision Blizzard, of which he presides over, 80%. 80 cents for every dollar that Activision makes is coming from in-game microtransactions. It makes sense. There was a book out a while ago called The Power of Free or something like that. Of course, this is going to be where the money is. And what's interesting about this is that even Sony, right, is seeing it. Microsoft, if you look, and I love the new Halo Infinite, but it's very clear, even to the degree with which they're not really coming out and saying, we will get rid of these cheaters in Halo Infinite. Microsoft is saying, look, it's free to play and it's cross-play with PC. They are saying cross-play is crucial to us, because if you look at all these successes, Fortnite, Apex Legends, whatnot, it's the freedom to play anywhere, along with the free of the product, which makes these guys billions of fucking dollars, okay? So Microsoft isn't changing. They're going, yeah, we're going to figure out the cheating, but it's never going to fully go away because we ain't getting rid of PC, okay? We ain't getting rid of free-to-play. Well, even Sony comes out and says, and this was Sony's last quarter report, PlayStation, this is from the Variety article, PlayStation touted an interest in live services after its fiscal Q2, cited a quarterly decrease in overall gameplay and first-party sales, meaning the Uncharted, The Last of Us, the God of Wars, a decrease in overall gameplay and first-party sales amid an increase in sales from third-party titles and add-on content. They've acquired Bluepoint, Firesprite, according to Variety, meant to bring more games to PC and mobile. But they've also talked to Jade Raymond's company. They're doing a deal with Jade's company to make a service-based game. So if you're an executive, look, I don't think the big mainstream games, I don't think they're going anywhere, at least for a while. And certainly the single-player indie games are not going anywhere. But more and more, we're going to see fewer and fewer of these big titles. And look, man, I mean, the gamers are talking, and this is what they're saying. If you're an executive, what do you do? I mean, now here, I will agree, I will admit, and I think it's good that at least the single player games, it's less risky, right? In the sense that there's a template there's a hungry audience for those kinds of games, and if you make them good enough, you're usually going to be okay. Right? The service-based games are very hit and miss. Everything from EA's like Rocket Arena, I think Knockout City, the dodgeball game, is kind of middling. It wants to be Fortnite clearly, but it ain't coming close to Fortnite. And then what was the one that Ubisoft put out? The Battle Royale or the first-person shooter, Skyscraper or Slamscaper, who the fuck even knows? Nobody talks about that game. So the ability to fail is a lot more frequent in the service-based game industry. So I don't think the people who are able to make a great amount of profit on single player and $60, $70, $80 box products, I don't think they're going anywhere, but I think you're going to see a lot fewer of them, because how can you deny these numbers? Let me tell you the last bit of numbers and then we will move on, but this is fascinating. Remember, I was asking you how much money do you think Warzone makes in a minute? Well, let's start from the top and trickle down. Warzone, as of August, has made Activision $2 billion. Okay? It launched in March of 2020. Okay, so in a little over a year, it's made them $2 billion. The mainline games make around $1 billion, right? Around $1 billion, give or take. I mean, those have microtransactions and those have hooks into Warzone now, but give or take, they don't seem to be as profitable. In fact, they're not. Looking at these numbers, they're not as profitable. Get this: Call of Duty Warzone on a day-to-day basis, $5 million per day is what they estimate Call of Duty Warzone makes. Okay, do you know what that comes to per minute? I will tell you in just a second. Because I'm going to tell you, Grand Theft Auto per minute makes $1,800 a minute. FIFA makes $2,000 a minute. Here we go. Top of the food chain. Activision's Call of Duty Warzone, $3,700 every minute in microtransactions. You can say it's ruining gaming, and it probably is in some ways, but hell, I would argue that leveling up weapons is ruining gaming, even in a $60 title. Different conversation. All I'm telling you, friends, is that we're going to get more of this because people keep spending money on more of this. But yeah, there you go. There's your answer. $3,700 per minute. $5 million a day. That's about what Bobby Kotick makes. So, but yeah, that man's staying put unless he broke the law, because if you're a shareholder and the audience doesn't care and it's just PR, they don't give a fuck. They're making crazy money. Goodness gracious. All right, let's move on, shall we? So remember when I was talking about the Spyro the Dragon remake, which was wonderful? A company called Toys for Bob did that, as I said. They're owned by Activision. They also did the Skylanders games, and then they did the wonderful Crash 4 from last year, which was excellent. The Time Warped, or whatever the fuck it was called. Great platformer. Fucking wonderful. Well, Activision, they're like, yeah, that's great. Thanks for the middling profits from time to time with, maybe Crash broke even, maybe Spyro probably broke even, but we need you on Call of Duty because that's a pittance. I can't say it. That's a tiny little bit of money. I'm not cutting out that either because it might make you go, oh, he's trying to make it, he doesn't want you to know. He doesn't know what the word is. Pittance. God, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not cutting it out. But it's a little bit of money compared to what we make, says Activision, says Bobby Kotick on Call of Duty. $2 billion versus your rinky-dink profits off Spyro Reimagined whatever trilogy. No more with the dragons. No more with the wacky characters. Do that on your own time. I need you to get there making guns and tanks and hand grenade models, right? Because that's what Toys for Bob is doing now. Well, there's another company that is just as talented, probably one of the most imaginative developers in the business. And I don't know, I don't have any data on this, but based on what's happening with their current game, I would say they're in a very similar position to Toys to Bob, which is the industry is changing so much that unless and they're currently owned by Sony, I'm talking as you probably know about Media Molecule, unless they go with other publishers that don't need to spend as much money, I struggle to see how Media Molecule stays intact versus, there are some options, right? If you're Media Molecule, they're brilliant, but I don't know, maybe you get like a license, right? You get get all the Pixar characters and you let them do like a Kingdom Hearts with Pixar characters or something. I know that is kind of Kingdom Hearts, but if you just did like a Pixar action adventure platformer, they could probably knock that out of the park. It would probably do brilliantly. Maybe you bring on a creative director, like somebody from another industry, like Guillermo del Toro, not the horror version, but he also does more fanciful stuff. Something that really says, yeah, you guys are blisteringly creative, but let's go down a little bit more of a commercial road. This is on my mind because the Toys for Bob thing, but more importantly, Dreams, which is Media Molecule's incredibly impressive and ambitious game creation toolkit, just came out yesterday with sort of Dreams 2.0. It's still on PS4. I don't think they've announced a PS5 version yet. They've hinted around the fact they're going to make one for PS5 or they're going to do a version for PS5. I want to say it's $9. It's cratered. Maybe it was a sale, but it doesn't cost you much to pick it up. It's incredibly impressive, and it remains as stupid as it ever was. In the sense that it's hard to make video games. Most people don't enjoy designing video games. Everybody thinks they want to make video games. Just like everybody thinks they want to write a screenplay. But when you sit down to write or when you sit down to actually make a game fun, it's really hard. It's really boring. It's really tedious. It's really frustrating. And I think that's kind of what, I don't know if that conversation came up when they were talking about Dreams and greenlighting it. I know for a while PlayStation was really into this play, create, share, or whatever thing. What they made is brilliant. I don't think it's ever going to work. Even if they were to bring it to PC and say, here's how it could work, maybe. Is if they bring it to PC, they let you play it without owning Dreams, the games that people make, and you can sell it. Otherwise, if you're going to get serious about making video games, you're going to use Unity, you're going to use Unreal, you're going to use something that you can monetize. Otherwise, why learn this tool that only applies to this one thing? The only thing I think Dreams is good for is if you're out there and you have a copy and you're like, I think I might want to make video games, it'll let you know if you're into it. It'll let you know if you want to do it. But I want to show you what 2.0 is. 2.0, Dreams 2.0 very much looks like a last-ditch effort. It looks like a Hail Mary on the part of Media Molecule. I played with it yesterday. It's pretty good. It's the game has always been really good, and this continues the trend. What they did with it, they did a couple of things I want to show you. First off, they put out new content, which is called A Bat's Tale, Ancient Dangers, okay? And I'll show this to you really quickly. It's okay. There's nothing, you don't play it and go, whoa. This kind of feels like a sort of an HD version of Medieval 1. I mean, not exactly. I don't want to get your hopes up. I know a lot of people love Medieval, but it's very kind of basic 3D platformer. You walk around, you fight skeletons and collect coins and collect treasures, and it's really not that big of a fucking deal as a game goes. You know, you can change the camera. It's from this view, but you can also go in and say, I want it to be an over-the-shoulder camera. It's really there to show off, wow, this is a pretty robust, a robust experience, which is great. And we've seen things like this before, but this is certainly one of the most impressive things that we've seen. But ultimately, even this is no tearaway. This is a relatively boring demo. But this exists so they can show you this. If you go over to Dream Shaping, which is where you create, they've actually put out these templates now, which let you build on top. So like that game we just played, Ancient Dangers, there's a template. There's a Infinite Runner. There's a shoot 'em up. It's very similar kind of to what they're doing in the core engine, where they get, here's a dungeon crawler. They give you sort of the basics, so you don't have to learn from the ground up. They teach you how to use the camera, and then they just let you go. This is their 2D platformer, which I'll show you. I mean, it's really, it's quite simple, to mess around with. They let you run through a course, and they kind of give you gist of all of the stuff, and then afterwards they're like, hey, we'll show you, how to do it. So you can basically take that and you can go into the editor and you can start, sort of like Mario Maker, you can just start working on it. You can start creating. And it walks you through kind of the basics. And this is a lot better, whereas if you played the original Dreams, you had to you had to like learn how to make a floor, and you learn how to make collision, or the collision came with it, but it was a lot more, they didn't really give you much, right? So now, this is how easy it is now. I mean, it's very, I didn't mess around with Little Big Planet, but I get the sense this is also closer to Little Big Planet in terms of creation. But so now let's say we want to put a little jump pad right here. So, we go into our goodies, which they've given you a bunch of these to play with. And obviously you can play with ones that other people, have created as well. Okay, I think I put one there. All right, so let's try this. And it's important to understand, I mean, this takes practice. Navigating with any 3D package is a challenge. Doing it with the DualSense is even harder, but you will get used to it like any 3D package. But it's cool. I mean, it's if you're somebody out there and you're going, hey man, I think I might want to make video games, learning a tool, learning a 3D package is a big part of the process. And if you don't have access to Unity or anything like that, if you're thinking more about being a designer or a level designer, there's still a lot of shit that you could do in this. And I think that's really cool. And I think these changes they've made to it are really, really good. I don't think it's going to make any difference. I don't think it's going to move the needle for this product, because it's just, again, even after you learn the tools, it's a lot of fucking work to make something fun. I mean, this is where I think most people get to on stuff like this. They'll do this, and then they'll be like, oops, they'll make something very simple, or they'll repeat something they've already seen. But then when it really comes time to go, hey, let's make something fun and original, what you end up with is just more of all this stuff that you've seen in Dreams before. So they're making it easier, which is nice, but it doesn't solve the real problem of something like this, which is ultimately, no matter how good you get at the tool, you have the problem of making something original and fun. And to give you an example of that, it is fun to fuck around with, though, if you're into this kind of shit. But, okay, so let me just run this and then I'll show you. To give you an example, though, you can go to, so now we've just made little clones of pickups, right? I mean, it's fun. It's a fun thing to do. I just Let me show you why I don't think this is ever really going to catch on, even if they bring it to PC. I mean, maybe if they bring it to PC, then I think you get into a situation where, like I said, if you could sell them and you can run it without owning this. But even if you go and you look at the featured releases that these guys have, right? If you say, okay, I want to go look at, I just want to play, so I'm going to go over to Dream Surfing. Well, these are some of the best things they have to offer. Come on, man. Who is always looking out for you? Who is always keeping track of your life, watching from on high to make sure you're having the best time in your adventure on Earth? It's me, it's your Papa Jeffy. I want to tell you about something I just found out about. I want to tell you about a new podcast that's out there. It's called The LEETIST. The LEETIST, baby. It is a new podcast where three friends, and then they bring on a rotating guest. Maybe they'll bring me on sometime. I'd do this. This sounds like a great show. Listen to this. It's three pals and a rotating guest. They play games about games, right? The LEETIST Podcast, they put their own spin on trivia, classic game shows, board games, video games, and debate battles on a variety of video game topics. Let me say that again so you understand what they're doing. They literally have a podcast where you listen in and they are playing games about video games, okay? The guys at the LEETIST are coming up with new games all the time, and they want your help with game ideas too. Now you can drop these fellas a line on Twitter. Here's how you get there. You go to @TheLEETIST. Let me spell it for you. @ the little symbol, you know what I'm talking about. It's @ and then the LEETIST, LEETIST, @TheLEETIST, and you can send them your original game ideas, trivia questions, debate topics for a chance to hear your creations on the show. And you know, you goddamn right, that's going to come with an epic shout out, of course, when you listen to the podcast where they use your idea and make you famous. The LEETIST Podcast, you old so-and-sos, that's games about games. And you can find it now on all major podcast platforms. So I want to tell you about one of our very first God of War members, Rotten Tanuki. He has an amazing, very cool franchise called the Day One Patch Kids, okay? You know, you're looking at them right now. These are as if you took the Cabbage Patch Kids and put them in a blender with some of the greatest video game characters of all time. They are fun, they are irreverent, they are weird, they are cool, and you can get them on t-shirts, towels, cups, coffee mugs, hats, all kinds of things over at his website. You can find the link below on the YouTube video or on the podcast notes. Let me just tell you something, man. This shit, I want to see a cartoon series with these guys, the Day One Patch Kids. I want to see plushies with these guys. You know, there's a Kratos one, there's a Sweet Tooth one. I swear to God, man, I love this stuff. Rotten Tanuki's Day One Patch Kids. Check them out now. I just want to play, so I'm going to go over to Dream Surfing. Well, these are some of the best things they have to offer. I was playing this one yesterday, and this one's not bad, right? I mean, it's kind of fun, actually. It's called, I don't know, Cyber Trigger, okay? So, but ultimately, it's nothing. I mean, it's like somebody spent a lot of time on it. It's well made. But I think the best thing you're going to get here is the guy or the girl who made this, or the team going, and this is a great thing, by the way, nothing's wrong with this, but going, hey man, that was fun to do. I enjoyed that. I want to get better at it. I want to get more successful at it. And this taught me that maybe I should really maybe think about doing this again, maybe professionally, maybe as a hobby, right? That's no small thing. I think that's wonderful. But I think it's important to kind of go, was it worth Sony spending as much as they did to develop this for something that's that? I mean, maybe it was, I don't know. But I think it's telling that after having been out for, you know, however long Dreams has been out, there hasn't been a must-play game. And there hasn't been a single game that people are like, oh my God, I have to go play. You've got to play this new game. Oh, where do I get it? Oh, it's in Dreams. No one says that. The most you ever hear about it is like, well, look at this game. Someone made that in Dreams. Isn't that cool? But, you know, more often than not, what you really end up with is just kind of people making things that are kind of B-level, C-level versions of what you would go out and buy and that would be better because a full team made them or somebody really spent a lot of time because they knew they could try to sell it. But if you're a really good designer that can make commercial products, why in the world, beyond like a messing around with it, if this is your only option, would you do anything in Dreams? It doesn't make any sense. If you're not looking at your screen, it's just this guy running around with a sword, and it's like, yeah, you can go, wow, that's impressive, you made that in Dreams. But if you just kind of put this as a standalone title, which is what 95% of the players are going to think, as they should, they don't give a fuck how you made it. They just give a fuck if it's fun, if it's compelling, if it's enough to pull them away from, whatever, the New Horizon or Death Stranding or the latest indie game or Halo Infinite. And I've never seen a single game in Dreams that meets that criteria. So anyway, I think that's a major fault with the product that I'm stunned they didn't think about, or if they did, I don't know. It's weird that you would think that survived the process of Greenlight, that they didn't stop and go, it's neat, but making games is fucking hard for professionals. What makes you think that, an average, just like somebody sitting at home during the summer is going to be fucking good at this? Or enjoy this even. So anyway, I applaud them. Not that they're looking for my applause, but I really do like the update. I think the update for Dreams is fantastic. It definitely makes things more simple. So if Dreams is for you and you've been thinking about getting in, but you've been a little intimidated, I think this is a good time to jump in. It doesn't cost a lot of money. The templates are there. Within minutes, you're creating and actually playing something that looks like a game that is a game, and it'll tell you a lot about your interest if you want to continue. So give it a look, check it out. I do wonder if Media Molecule is like, this was their last shot of like, just let us try to make this more palpable. And I think they did. They made it more engaging. The intro is better. The onboarding is better. But fundamentally, no matter how easy you make it, you can give somebody a pen and paper. It's still going to be hard for them to write the great American novel. You can give somebody a camera. It doesn't mean they're Steven Spielberg. It doesn't mean they even want to be Steven Spielberg. So that's the fundamental rotting of this concept, that no matter how good they execute it, I don't think most people are really going to want this. And I think so far it's proven out. What's that? Why? It's the phone. It's the red phone. Yes, it is our first official segment of the Gabbin+Games Red Phone. 949-954-0569. Call. You won't talk to anybody live. Sometimes I might pick up the phone and surprise you. More often than not, though, you'll be prompted to leave a message, and you can talk about pretty much whatever the fuck you want. If it's compelling, ideally it'll be about the stuff we've been talking about on the show, but hell, bring up new topics, rage about this, that, or the other. If it's interesting and compelling, I'll put it on the show and talk about it. So we got a couple of folks calling in today, and let's just jump right in. Again, we got more calls that I'm playing. Some people just called to say, hey, what's up? I like this idea. I like your games. Always appreciated. Thank you for that. The calls I'm going to put on, though, are things I think that other people might really want to listen to. So, but let's kick it off with an inaugural call from our good friend. Well, you'll see who it is. He hasn't been around for a while. Been a little bit busy with a new job. Here we go.
Hey, Jackie, this is JoJo D. It's currently 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm at work. I've been working for the last month or so. I haven't been around in the live shows.
Yeah, so he's commuting and he's driving a lot, so we haven't been able to see him that often. I hope you're well, JoJo D. Hope the job's going great.
Sorry about that. It is a fantastic idea. This whole red phone reminds me of the fucking red commies and the president's phone and all that crap.
You goddamn
I'll
right.
be here for a few more
right.
hours, and I have a couple of hours of commute to go back home. I get home tired, but I'm just calling to say what a fantastic idea. Recording people's messages, recording people's rage and thoughts and everything else. And have a good one, and bye.
There you go, JoJo D. off into the night. Thank you, buddy. Always good to hear from you. I hope you are enjoying your new job, and hopefully we can see you on a live show very, very soon. Let's jump to Ian from 616 Entertainment. He's got a couple of questions that I think are worth talking about.
Jackie, Ian from 616 Entertainment here. I've got two things for you. Number one, we talked a little bit in the DMs about this company that is putting old PS3 games back online, for fans to play, including one of your works, Calling All Cars, which is pretty exciting. My question is, does Sony turn a blind eye to this? Do they not give a shit about this? Or are they going to shut this down because that kind of seems like the Sony thing to do?
So it's a great question. To recap, I'm not sure how the audio is yet. Ian's saying that, yeah, if you haven't followed along, Home is back online now. I don't know if they've done Warhawk yet. SOCOM Confrontation is online, I believe. No Twisted Metal 2012 yet. I hope they do that. And then obviously they just announced Calling All Cars, which I need to figure out how to play this shit. But I don't know if you need a PS3 or you can do it through your PC. But yeah, they are bringing back a lot of these dead titles and putting them on, making them playable again. But the question about, is Sony cool with it? I mean, Sony obviously is not Nintendo, and they don't really have a history of stepping in with fan stuff. My experience with Sony has been they don't really like to sue people. They will if they need to. They will if they have to. But it's not usually in their best interest, they feel, at least back when I worked at Sony, to really kind of piss off the fans and deal. They have so many big tickets and big elephants they're trying to... I don't know what you do with an elephant. Big, lions that are hunting, which is terrible. Don't hunt lions. But big monsters that are hunting that are big, serious legal issues, that things like this, unless it blows up and becomes something that's harming the brand or taking meaningful money out of Sony's pockets, I don't think they're going to give a shit. I was going to reach out to a few people at Sony and ask them, but they're on Thanksgiving break. I didn't want to bug them at home, but I will do a little bit of, recon on this because I would like to know. But my guess is they're not going to do a single thing. They're going to leave it alone, and it's not going to be very big. And so it's just probably not even going to be on their radar. They have bigger fish to fry. That's what you do with an elephant. You don't fry it, but you fry the fish. All right, Ian's got one more question.
My other question is, we have heard that WB Montreal has 2 games in the works. We know one of them is Batman, what the hell is it called? Not
Gotham Knights.
Owls. Gotham Knights.
Yes.
That's the one, where Batman's dead, but he's totally not dead.
Right.
The other game, is it finally a Superman game? Are we going to get a Superman game? Please tell me we're going to get a Superman game. Much love, Jaffe. Have a good show. I will be tuning in. Talk to you later.
All right, there goes Ian. Ian is a big Superman fan. I'm a fan of Ian's in general. I've done some shows with Ian. He's a good dude. Now listen, there's 2 thoughts on the Superman game. The first one is the one that a lot of gamers, don't ask me why, and I've talked about this before. I don't understand it. It's just like a knee-jerk that people don't think about when they're like, oh, there can't be Superman games. He's too powerful. And I'm just like, well, then how can there be Superman comics and movies and books and TV series? I mean, Superman, in order to have drama, you need conflict. In order to have conflict, you need to be able to put the main character or the protagonist in a compromising position, and you really need to squeeze that main character in a way that reveals the essence, the soul of that character. Superman does that almost every Superman story. So, yeah, he's not going to have a problem beating up a bunch of fucking thugs in an alleyway. But, if Lex Luthor in the water supply suddenly puts some kind of kryptonite, in the water, and it makes every other person who's not Kryptonian have abilities or have the ability to weaken Superman like a normal fight, well, suddenly it's game on. Or if Brainiac, creates situations where if Superman beats up on normal criminals, he ends up running the risk of losing his own powers, or monsters come from outer space that are the spawn of Doomsday and, some alternate universe, the Wonder Woman who laughs. There's all kinds of things that you can do to deal with the fact that he's got, the concept of he's super, right? The bigger challenge, honestly, I think with Superman is the license holders, which is the WB. They don't really know what to do with the guy. I think he is a hero out of time right now, which for a guy like me who's 50, I don't have a problem with. I love that because I love what he stands for. I'm a huge Superman fan. He battles with Spider-Man for to own the sort of my favorite superhero slot. But I love that he's about hope and optimism and positivity and wanting to do the right thing. I understand that that's boring for a lot of people today, and I understand that maybe in today's understandably cynical environment, people are like, I don't have time for that shit. Where was he when 9/11 happened? Where was he when COVID happened? Where was he when the school shootings happened? Obviously, they're not asking that literally, but metaphorically, there is a sense of, I don't think I can believe in Superman anymore. And for me, I think this is when we need to believe in Superman the most. Different topic, but it spins into Ian's question, which is, why isn't there a Superman game? I don't think it makes the most financial sense. Let's put it this way. Warner Brothers literally greenlit a game with Batgirl, Nightwing, the Red Mask, and I forget who the other one is in Gotham Knights. Those are B characters, man. Maybe B- characters. They greenlit that before they greenlit a Superman movie or a Superman game. Okay? I mean, come on. Right? It should tell you, even though, yes, he's one of the Trinity with Wonder Woman and Batman, it should tell you that they are struggling to figure out how to make this character work. Because when they kind of Chris Nolan'd it with the Zack Snyder Superman films, I know some people really like him, and that's great, but it didn't feel like Superman to me. So there you go, Ian. That is my answer. Okay, those are our first two inaugural calls from the Red Phone, Gabbin+Games Red Phone. Again, you can call in anytime during the week. If it's a compelling, interesting question, I will put you on the show, and I will talk to you in this way. 949-954-0569. We did it. We did it, you old fuck sticks. So let me know in the comments. I want to talk a little bit with you. Let me know in the comments what you think of the format. Was it a better show? Was it smoother? Was it more interesting? Or is it like, dude, Javi, you're a fucking moron. Get the chat back. Let me know. I want to let you know, though, that liking and subscribing helps me a lot. If you've come to the end of this, you've watched a whole long goddamn thing. If you're watching the podcast, listen to the podcast, give it a rating, give it a review if you don't mind. Comment, like, dislike, I don't care. Just give me some feedback on what we can do to improve it. Check out our sponsors. Those guys are in before anyone else in regards to supporting the show. I really appreciate their support. Click their stuff's right below in the YouTube. Just click on their shit, give it a look. All of their stuff is really cool. I highly recommend it. Go check them out. I would appreciate it. And then heads up, we will be doing some new member rewards, and we will be changing the member system up very, very soon. So I just want to kind of let you know that. If you're going, hey, where did the pictures go on screen and all that? I got to get this format locked, and then I'm going to build the new membership tiers around it in the next couple of weeks. So I apologize for that, but keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, there you go. This has been Gabbin+Games for December 1st. Goodness gracious. 2nd, 1st, what have you. Be well, be safe. And I hope to see you online playing some games or over on our Discord. Join our Discord. The link's below. I'll see you there. I'll see you on Twitter. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. Bye, you guys.